Good day mga kamat-aral. We're now on our new lessons in mathematics. Once again, good day po sa inyong lahat. Math-aral tayo na mabuti. So today's topic is all about the absolute value and integers. In here, we can represent the absolute value on a number line as the distance of a number line from 0 and perform fundamental operations on integers. So let's move forward. Absolute value. Absolute value of a number, such as this symbol, is the distance of the given number on the number line from 0. The absolute value of a number disregards the directions from where it lies with respect to 0. So, for us to understand this, let's move forward. When we talk of distance, it is always positive. The absolute value of 2, written as this, absolute value of 2, represents its distance from 0 on the number line. So in here, when we are talking about the absolute value, we are referring on a distance. So to define the number line, as mentioned on our previous slides, a number line can be defined rather as a straight line with numbers placed at equal intervals or segments along its length. So imagine na lang po natin that we have a ruler with lines and numbers. So in here, this is a number line consisting of intervals. So number line can be a horizontal one like this one and a vertical one. So if you are familiar or browsing your modules, there is a learning task that asks for vertical number line. So let's move forward. The sets of integers. Set of integers consists of all positive whole numbers and negative whole numbers as well as 0. So we're going to use again the number line itself with interval, and I have labeled the interval here as the 0 or the origin from 0. That's it. So from the right of 0 to the right of 0 rather, there are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So every numbers to the right, every number to the right of 0 is so-called as positive integers. Positive integers represented by positive numbers. Positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the positive integers. While on the left of 0, there were negative numbers such as negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. These numbers represent the negative integers. So, ayun po siya. So, we have negative integers, 0 or origin, and positive integers. We already know that there are numbers greater than 6. So, if we're going to count it continuously, we can we can we can go we can go to positive infinity. Ayan po. So, Meaning to say, there were more numbers, succeeding numbers right after 5, up to 1, up to positive infinity. This is the positive infinity symbols. So to the left of 0, there were negative infinity. Same concept used here. So we have negative 6, negative 7, negative 8, up to negative infinity. So that's it. So please do remember this. 0 is greater than to any negative integers, or rather, for all negative integers. While positive integers are higher than 0, or every positive integer is higher than 0. And take note that 0 has no sign. Wala po siyang sign. To its left, negative. To its right, positive. So please do remember those notes. Next. For our illustrative example, since we are able to define the absolute value as the distance itself, whereas to represent the absolute value of 6, as we read it, the absolute value of 6 on the number line. So, given the number line here with label integers, so since we are working on the positive integers, so we let less negative integers here. So, pointing out 0 to its right, pointing out 6, and do a marker. Then, if we're going to count the steps, the distance covered from 0 to 6, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Counting it one by one, we produce 6 steps or 6 units. So, it says here, 6 is 6 units from 0. So, totoo naman po, nung binilang po natin siya, it is 6 in units. So, thus, the absolute value of 6, as is this one, is 6. In symbol, that is, the absolute value of 6, or the absolute value of positive 6 is equal to 6. Take note, if you see any integer with no negative sign or positive sign, it is automatic positive integer, as what you've seen here. Later, you will understand what is the other form of the form and the explanations of the positive integer, just as this one. So, to the next slide. In here, we are asked to represent the absolute value of negative 4 on the number line. So, given the number line itself, on our previous slides, so we're asked to find the absolute value of 6 and that's the positive integer. So in here, we're asked to find the negative integer, particularly the absolute value of negative 4. So label the number line with integers from 0 to its right up to 5, and to its left up to negative down to negative 5. So in here, we're going to point out 0 up to negative 4, or down to negative 4 rather. Then we're going to count it one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 units from 0 to negative 4. So since we are talking about distance, there is no such negative distance. It says on previous slides that when we talk about distance, it is always positive. So yan po, kaya po siya ganito. So, in here, the distance of negative 4 from 0 is 4 units. Tulad po na ginawa natin at nagbibilang po tayo. The absolute value of negative 4 is 4, just as this. Ayan po. That is, in symbol, ayan po siya, negative 4, or the absolute value of negative 4 is equal to 4. So, as we observed on our previous example, the absolute value of 6 or the absolute value of positive 6 is positive 6 also. In here, the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. So, what conclusions we can make? The conclusions we can make for the first two examples is that every integer inside the absolute value, once you take it out, is the number itself with positive sign. So, take note on this one. Negative 4. Inside the absolute value, nasa loob po siya. Nung nilabas po natin siya, naging positive siya. At yun din yung numero. So, that's the definitions about the absolute value that's being shown on our on our first two example. So, move to next slides. In number 3, we are asked to represent the absolute value of negative 5 plus the absolute value of 3 on the number line. So, we have negative integer and positive integer. Okay, focus on 0 or the origin. So, negative 5 is to the left of 0. So, pointing out 0 here and negative 5, and let's have marker. Then, using the same concepts on with our previous slides, the absolute value of negative 5 is 5 units from 0, and the absolute value of 3 from 0 is 3 units from 0. So, as we use the same concepts and procedures with the procedures we've used in our previous slides, yung ginamit po natin kanina. So, tatandaan nyo lamang po, any integers inside the absolute value, once you take it out, is the number itself and with positive sign. So in here, thus, absolute value of negative 5 plus the absolute value of 3 is the same with 5 plus 3. So, para ka lang nag-add ng 5 plus 3. Because negative 5 of the absolute of negative 5 is equal to positive 5. And the same with the absolute value of 3 is 3. And if you're going to add it, it is 8. So, moving forward po tayo. Ayan. And here, we're asked to find the sum of integers. Ayan. The question is, how to add integers of like sign integers? So for rule number 1, when adding integers with like sign, just take the sum and copy the sign. So, mean to say, kung tayo mag-a-add ng integers na magkapareho ang sign, madali lang po ang gagawin, mag-a-add lang po tayo at kopyahin po natin ang kailang common signs. Tulad po ng mga sumusunod. For number 1, so I'm using the open and close parentheses just to separate the signs of integer. So, positive 3 plus positive 2, this is positive. Positive 3 plus positive 2 is the same as 3 plus 2. Take note. Bakit daw nag 3 plus 2? Dahil sila ay nasa addition at pareho po ng sign na add na positive, marapat na mag-add ka na lamang po dahil it's nabanggit dito, when adding integers of with like signs, just take the sum. Mag-add ka po. 3 plus 2 is 5. And the question is, what is the common sign of these two integers? It is positive. So that is why our answer is positive 5. Or you can rewrite it as 5 as that. So why? Whenever the integer is positive integer, you can omit the positive sign of that integer. Tulad po nito, nung nire-write po natin na wala na po si positive integer. Yan po ay nangyayari kapag ang sagot mo ay positive integer. Okay, on the second example, negative 8 plus negative 10. So since they are with the same sign, So all we have to do is to take the sum of 8 and 10. 8 plus 10 is 18. And then we're going to copy the common sign of negative as we what did here sa example na ito. So dinikit lang natin si negative sign. If we're going to rewrite it, it is negative 18. So unlike the positive integer, negative 18 is cannot be rewrite as 18. So, positive integer is a positive integer and negative integer is a negative integer. No, hindi mo siya pwedeng tanggalan ng negative sign. Doon kay positive integer, pwede mo siyang tanggalan because whenever na you see an integer without positive sign or negative sign, it is automatically a positive integer. Okay po. So, in here, common signs is negative as we have mentioned earlier. So, next slide. The question is, how can we add integers with unlike sign? Okay, rule number 2. When adding integers with unlike sign, subtract the integers and copy the sign of highest absolute value. So, pasok po pa rin po tayo dun sa absolute value na nababanggit. For example, positive 7 plus negative 2. These two integers are indifferent sign. They are unlike sign. One is positive and one is negative. Okay. Even if we are on addition symbol or additions, kapag sila ay magkaiba ng sign, instead you add these two integers, you're going to take the difference or you're going to subtract it. So, 7 minus 2. 7 minus 2 is 5. But the question is, what would be the sign of 5? So, dadako naman po tayo sa sinasabi nilang the sign of the highest absolute value. Since they are indifferent or unlike signs rather. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. Ito lang po yan. Yung sagot nito, the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. Negative 2 po yan. The absolute value of positive 7 is positive 7 itself. So that is why, titingnan mo yung sinabi na highest value of the highest absolute value of integers is 7. So ano ba yung sign ni 7? Di po ba positive? So that is why susundin natin yan. Ang magiging sign po ng ating sagot dyan ay positive 5. So since it is positive integer, you can rewrite it as 5 na lang po. Yan po siya. So next, negative 14 plus positive 8. So magkaiba na naman po sila. So it is negative and it is positive. Though we are on additions, instead you add, you're going to subtract. 14 minus 8 is 6. But the question is, what would be the sign of your 6? So, balik po tayo rito. The absolute value of 8 or positive 8 is 8. There is no questions there. The absolute value of negative 14 is 14. Okay? So, as you can see on the other side. Ayan po. Now, since this is the highest absolute value of integer, tingnan nyo po yung sign niya, yung original sign. The original sign is negative. So, that is why, instead of 6 is the answer, our final answer is negative 6. And if you want to rewrite it, it is at is negative 6 lang po. So, yun po siya. So we have rule 1 and rule 2. So let's proceed. And now, we're asked to find the difference of integers under how to subtract integers tag question. Okay, so like and unlike integers. So pinagsama na po natin siya. There were more there were more rules indicating the subtraction of integers, but we let ourselves under rule 3 para mas madali po natin makuha. Rule number 3. When subtracting integers, just keep the first integer. Pananatilihin and change subtraction symbol to addition symbol. Take the opposite of last integer, then follow the rules of adding integers. Alright. So as you can see, there were 3 words highlighted: keep, change, and opposite. Malaki po ang role po nito sa ating gagawin pong step by step. So let's move forward. So in here, in our example, we have negative 11 minus negative 2. So the keep change opposite has to take place. It says here that you must keep the first integer. Copy. Kokopyahin lang po. Keep. Anatilihin. And you have to change the subtraction sign to addition sign. Okay. And then you have to take the opposite of the last digit or the second digit. Since it is positive, rather negative 2, the opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. So, yeah. And then, based on the definition itself, right after the keep change opposites has take place or take effect, we must proceed on adding the integers. Babalik po tayo sa rule 1 and 2. Since tayo po ay nasa addition na, eto na po tayo. These two integers are unlike sign. One is negative and the second one is positive. So instead of mag-add, we're going to subtract. 11 minus 2 is 9. But the question is, what must be the sign of 9? Okay? So balik ulit tayo rito po. So, ito na. So dito tayo. The sign, we're going to take the sign. But, sabi nga doon, take the absolute value of the highest absolute value of integers. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11. Okay? Okay. The absolute value of negative 2 or positive 2 is 2. Tama? So, ayun po. So, focus tayo. Ano ang masusunod sa dalawa? Ito bang itong 2 or yung 11? Ang tamang sagot ay yung sign ni 11. Ano po ba ang sign ni 11? That is negative. So, the sign of our answer is negative po. So, instead of na positive 9, it is negative 9. Where the highest absolute value of integers came from negative 11 po. So that is why the answer is negative 9. Titingnan lang po natin siya doon. So next, positive 2 minus positive 9. So in here, ito na po tayo. Keep the first integer, change the subtraction to addition. Opposite, take the opposite of the positive 9 rather, to negative 9. Ayan, change. Naka-change na po siya. So, balik na po tayo sa addition. Since these two integers are in different sign, one is positive and negative, instead na ikaw ay mag-subtract, rather mag-add, ikaw ay mag-subtract. So, 9 minus 2 is 7. So, ayun po. But the question again is, what must be the sign of 7 or our answer? So, take a look on the absolute value of integer. So, ito na po tayo. So, dito po tayo mag-focus dito sa napalitan na po natin. The absolute value of positive 2 is 2. Okay? So, every integer nga daw po sa loob ni absolute value, once you take it out, positive pa rin at siya pa rin yung numero. Okay. What is the absolute value of negative 9? It is 9. Positive 9. Mataas sa dalawa ay ito. So, ang sign mismo ni 9 ang masusunod, which is negative. So, the same concepts we've used here ay yun din po. So, instead of 7 ang sagot mo, lalagyan mo siya ng negative. So, that is why our answer is negative 7. So, that's the use of the keep change opposite to normalize the the operations on integers para ikay makabalik ulit doon sa pag-add ng integers po. Yan po ay nangyayari when you are subtracting two integers for of like and unlike sign. Of like and unlike sign integers po. Doon lang man po siya nangyayari at na-apply ang keep change opposite and then back to adding integers. So, now, for practice exercises, we're asked to simplify the following. Okay, the absolute value of 28 is the number itself with positive sign. That is positive 28. The absolute value of 32 is 32. The absolute value of 7 plus 2 is 9. All you have to do is to take the sum of 7 plus 2 and that is 9. What is the absolute value of 9? It is 9 also. Okay, positive 9. Ayan. So, ito, 28. Lagyan po natin label para mas matandaan po. And in here, what is the absolute value of negative 2 minus 3 rather? So, operation muna po tayo rito. So, ito, since sila ay nasa difference, di gamitan po natin ng keep change opposite. So, keep, change, palitan si subtraction ng addition. Tapos si positive 3 magiging negative 3. Di po ba? Ayan na po nangyari. So, magkaiba na po sila ng sign. Ito, isang positive at isang negative. So, 2 plus negative 3 is the same as 3 minus 2. Okay? 3 minus 2. It is 1. But, if we're going to repair on this, what is the sign of the highest absolute value? The highest absolute value of 2, or rather, the absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So, ano mas taas sa dalawa? Okay? Ang mataas sa dalawa ay si 3. So, susundan natin yung sign ni 3. That is negative. So, ito na yun. Ayan po. What is the absolute value of negative 1? So, ang mangyayari ay ito. The absolute value of negative 1 is still 1 or positive 1 na po siya. 1 siya pero positive po ang sign. So, since it is positive, okay na maging 1 na lamang po siya. Okay, pareho lang po yan. And now, what is the absolute value, or rather, what is the simplifications of negative absolute value of 10? So, mangyayari dyan, you have to rewrite the negative sign there. And then, what is the absolute value of 10? It is 10. So, that is why our answer for number 5 is negative 10. Inabang lang po natin si negative dahil nasa labas na po siya in the first place. So, the simplification is negative 10 po. Okay. Moving forward. This is the learning task 2 that is assigned to you. So, for learning task 2 letter A 1 to 5, we're asked to find its sum, okay, of these two integers. Positive 9 plus positive 10 is positive 19. Positive 7 plus negative 5 is negative 12. Paano daw po kaya nakuha iyon? They are the same sign under addition. So, ganun lang po nangyari. Pares po nito. Negative 5 plus negative 1. It is negative 1. So, yun po yung ginawa natin. 2 or positive 2 plus positive 8 is 10. So, applying the rules of adding integers. Negative 1 plus 10. That is positive 9. So, yun po. On letter B, subtract the following. So, sa subtraction part na po tayo. Positive 7 minus positive 4 is positive 3. Okay? Parang 7 minus 4 lang yan. Negative 2 minus negative 6 is positive 4. Positive 10 minus negative 3 is positive 13. Bakit kaya daw yung naging positive 13? Keep, change, opposite. Ayun po, oh. Nakita niyo na po, parang ka nag-10 plus 3 lamang po. Negative 6 minus 9. That is negative 15. Why? How can we justify it? So, ganito lang po yan. Keep, negative 6. Change subtraction to addition. And then, take the opposite of positive 9. That is negative 9. So, di po ba? Rule number 1 po ito. So, kaya negative 15. In here, so, ganito pa rin. Negative 10. Keep. And then, change. And then, ito naman po ay negative 1. So, the answer is, ayan, negative 11 po. Pares unod ng ating ginawa doon sa number 4 using the same rule. Okay po. So, that's it. So with that, thank you mga kamat-aral and thanks for tuning in and listening in our discussions. Please do like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel. Math-aral tayong na mabuti. God bless everyone!